Friends and patriots, welcome and good evening to you. My name is Ajuri Ngelale, and I come to you from the nation's capital. This is Eagle Eye. On this inaugural edition of the program, we take you to Kebbi State, where we undertook a physical assessment of federal road infrastructure with the Minister of Works and Housing, Babatunde Fashola, on site. This came during a 2-week span in which the federal government commissioned 600 kilometers of newly constructed federal highways for use in communities across 4 geopolitical zones. It is well known that President Muhammadu Buhari has made infrastructural development a most central policy thrust during his 6+ years in office. More exclusive insight into both challenges and solutions confronting the sector can be expected on the program as we sit down with the minister later in this edition of Eagle Eye. You do not want to miss this. I am humbled to have this privilege as a custodian in the public service to share with you what will sometimes be exclusive information, in addition to critical and factual analysis, which may serve to bolster the quality of public discourse concerning the most important matters facing our country. Without further ado, this is the first memo in my briefing memoranda. Across sectors, there is a trend in which scrutiny of public sector policy and administration has come to be fixated on and limited to what is popularly termed as the Nigerian government. In local parlance, the Nigerian government refers narrowly to the federal government of Nigeria. While there is a federal judiciary, a federal legislature, and a federal executive branch, the term Nigerian government has narrowed even further in the public discourse, often serving as a kind of definitive pseudonym for the federal executive branch in isolation. This, of course, tends to neglect the practical reality of our nation's constitutional system of federalism, which provides states and local governments with massive constitutional responsibility, some being exclusive, that is to be supported by a revenue-sharing formula that provides states with 26.72% and local governments with 20.60%, totaling 47.32% of all revenues accruable to Nigeria, as against the 52.68% given to the federal government. This first entry in my briefing memoranda seeks not in any way to query public accountability or undermine the patriotic pursuit of transparent governance in Nigeria. It, in fact, rather seeks to support and expand it. It has become customary during every year's budgetary compilation and enactment process that the federal budget is rightly assessed with a magnifying lens. Oftentimes, though, whether we talk about healthcare or education spending, what the federal budget allocates to a particular sector is often inaccurately reported as Nigeria's total investment in that sector. But we know empirically that this is far from true, and this might very well have something to do with the narrowing Nigerian government definition. If the budget conveys funding allocation, then the Constitution conveys the allocation of responsibility, which often determines funding priorities. Against the constitutional backdrop of having the bulk of primary human capital development expenditure deriving from the exclusive responsibilities of Nigeria's subnational governments, we see the federal budget often allocating resources in accordance with its secondary and interventionist support role in these important sectors. Given the revenue shocks occasioned by a once-in-a-century global pandemic, there is certainly no better time than now to widen the scrutinizing definition of the Nigerian government to include the 36 states and 774 local governments, which consume nearly half of our nation's resources. When state budgets are passed, we must begin to ask critical questions the way we do with federal budgets. We must query state and local lawmakers and officials with the same tenacity and impatience with which we must continue to query federal lawmakers and officials. Every Nigerian lives in a municipality or local government entity. The work sector is a perfect example. Currently, federal roads make up a mere 35,000 kilometers out of more than 200,000 kilometers of roadway in Nigeria. That is 16%. While just 16% of all roads in this country are federal roads, another 16%, or 35,000 kilometers, are state-owned roads, with a staggering 68%, or 130,000 kilometers, remaining as the sole responsibility of local governments in Nigeria. Whether the local governments are being allowed to function under state government fiduciary control is another topic for another day. This means that the Federal Ministry of Works and Housing and its budget are functioned to address 16% of the roads which Nigerians rightly assess as requiring significant upgradation. We must begin to regard and discuss as primary the role of our subnationals in attaining the development required of the Nigeria we desire. While Works is a micro example, the same principle applies to our country's macro development picture. In our nation's new medium-term National Development Plan 2021 to 2025, recently launched by President Muhammadu Buhari, we see a total investment commitment of about 348.1 trillion naira. It is estimated that government capital expenditure during the period will be 49.7 trillion naira, or 14.3% of the total, while the balance of 298.3 trillion naira, representing 85.7% of the total, is expected from the private sector. But most essentially, of the 14.3% government contribution to the new National Development Plan, the federal government's capital expenditure will be 29.6 trillion naira, or 8.5% of the total, while the subnational government's capital expenditure is estimated to be about 20.1 trillion naira, or 5.8% of the total. This demonstrates very clearly that we quite actually cannot afford that the actions, priorities, and budgets of subnational authorities, executives, legislatures, and judiciaries inclusive, remain overlooked and ignored in the larger development trajectory of our country. And the responsibility of holding them and the federal government to account lies irrevocably with all of us. Share your thoughts and constructive comments with us on the Eagle Eye Facebook and Instagram page. We go deeper after this short break. Do stay with us. It is a scorching hot day in this northwest state that is nicknamed the Land of Equity. But the heat would not deter the sun-soaked residents in Kebbi State who are abuzz on this day when the 295-kilometer Sokoto-Jega-Koko-Birnin Yauri Road is being commissioned for use. The jubilation and excitement in the air feels like a release and a product of what had been a long-suffering confrontation with the decades-long abandoned road infrastructure on this important federal road artery cutting through Sokoto and Kebbi states. After top government functionaries arrive, the Kebbi State Governor addresses state residents, saying the completion of ongoing federal projects across sectors has yielded underappreciated benefits.
This road links us to Lagos. This road is the engine of growth. The former Minister of Finance and now Director General of the World Trade Organization spoke before President Buhari was sworn, was to say that whoever takes over power, there will be a recession. But he said What was different with APC was how we responded to the recession and how we quickly came out of recession.
May Allah make it beneficial for the prosperity of the economy of this nation and this locality. So, Bismillah.
Following the ceremonial ribbon cutting, the Honorable Minister of Works and Housing took our crew on a mini tour of the new road, which paved the way for issues concerning the work sector in the region to be discussed. Your Excellency, we know that this 296-kilometer project is the culmination of a long and arduous journey to completion. Can you give us a sense of the trajectory generally of works execution under the leadership of President Muhammadu Buhari and how this project would impact on the local economy?
It's been a challenging project, but we have received a lot of support from the traditional rulers, the emirs of Gwandu, emirs of Yauri, emir of Zuru, all of who were in attendance, and also particularly from the state governor. And it shows what sub-national and federal government can achieve together in terms of national development. In terms of strategic importance, I could not do better than to repeat what the honorable member has said, representing Cocoa, about the impact on agricultural produce and prosperity for farmers, for the economy. Now, could I do better than Senator Alero, who in fact was governor here for 8 years when the road was in a very, very challenging condition. All that is done now. In terms of international connections, this is the road this is part of the A1 that links us to the border and part of the Trans-African Highway. And this is also the road that goes to Lagos to the port. So it's a road from Sahel to port. And it's so critical. This is one of the 9 major roads that link Nigeria on a horizontal and vertical basis, the A1 to A9. This is the A1.
Fantastic. You know, Honorable Minister, I'm sure you have heard some of the speculations coming from some political analysts who have alleged that President Muhammadu Buhari's projects, major landmark projects in the southern part of the country, like the Second Niger Bridge, the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway, the Boni-Bodo Road, and many, many others, mean that he is not giving enough attention to northern Nigerian infrastructure. What would you say to those analysts?
Well, I think that people should essentially look for hard facts before listening to those people. So we're in northern Nigeria. So these controversies will continue. But the truth is that where the road is situated is not necessarily what is most defining. It is where it connects us to. So the fact that the people of Yauri, people of Makera, people of Kebbi host this road will not stop other Nigerians from using it for their day-to-day livelihood, for their businesses, and that is what is important. That is what the president is focused on, connecting all the gaps in Nigeria's infrastructure and integrating the country together for peaceful coexistence and national development.
You know what, it's been absolutely palpable, the excitement of the local community here today. And one has found that when you look at whether it's the Kano-Katsina Road or the Kano-Maiduguri Road or many of the other major projects in this region that have been executed under your leadership, that one of the issues that comes up after completion is that of project sustainability. And Nigerians generally are concerned about the notion of maintenance. Can you give Nigerians a sense of what the plan is now that this major 296-kilometer project has now been completed? Are there plans for a maintenance regime so that this road can maintain this excellent condition?
Well, first of all, there is, but more importantly, we must listen to the President's address as delivered by the Minister of Justice. The Minister, speaking on behalf of the President, was reading the President's speech, emphasizing on the need for proper use as against abuse. Abuse stems from all sorts of conduct such as overloading vehicles, which accelerate deterioration of the pavement, repairing vehicles by the pavement, which leaks petroleum products that dissolves all of the components that have been bound together, washing cars by the pavement, using the shoulders as parking spaces for trucks. All of this accelerate abuse. If this is not done, and the President has said we will desist from doing this, and vehicles are not overloaded, then we expect that the road will deliver on its design life. But more importantly, if you go and look at the amount of funding that is coming to FEMA, it is incrementally getting larger since 2016. And that is because FEMA is the ultimate beneficiary and repository of this road once we complete, to ensure annual, periodic, and regular maintenance.
Halima Abdurrahman has provided local dwellers in Koko town with items from faraway markets to conduct local trade in desolate, outlying communities. While she spends her off time and personal resources equipping orphaned children with new skills, Halima expresses a measure of guarded surprise that a government could actually complete such a long road, particularly one which has caused delays, countless accidents, loss of time, and loss of business for most of her adult life.
Gaskiya na ji daɗi kwarai kuma muna godiya kwarai bisa ga irin kokarin da Baba Buhari ya muna. Allah ya taimaka kuma Allah ya ƙara buɗi, Allah ya ƙara buɗi. Mun gode kwarai da kokari. Allah saka da alkhairi. Sannan bayan haka nan kuma game da hanyar da an kai muna nan, da titi mu bi da kyau. Muna ana ta samu matsaloli, ana yawan accident da sauransu. Amma gashi yanzu an gyara mana titi lahiya lau, babu matsalar komi, titi lahiya lau. Ta yadda za ka yi ta awa 3 daga nan zuwa birnin Kebbi ko Sokoto, yanzu lahiya lau cikin minti 30 ko awa 1 ya isa ya kai ka. Gaskiya muna godiya kwarai da kokari bisa ga irin kokarin da Baba Buhari ya muna. Allah ya saka da alkhairi kuma Allah ya ƙara buɗe. Mun ji daɗi, mun gode kwarai, mun gode.
This event would mark the first of 5 commissionings over a 2-week period in November and December 2021 as part of what the Minister of Works and Housing has termed the season of completion. These are interstate federal roadways which have been under construction during this administration and have now reached completion stage. The Azare-Potiskum section of the Kano-Maiduguri Expressway linking Bauchi and Yobe states, covering 106 kilometers, was commissioned. The Shuwarin-Azare section of the Kano-Maiduguri Expressway with a spur from Dutse linking Jigawa and Bauchi states, covering 142 kilometers, was also commissioned. The 24-kilometer Vandekia-Obudu Cattle Ranch Road linking Benue and Cross River states was commissioned, and the 40-kilometer Nnewe-Oduma Road linking Ebonyi State to Enugu State in the southeast geopolitical zone was also commissioned. While the soon-to-be-completed Kano-Katsina Expressway links Kano further into the northwestern states, the strategic Kano-Maiduguri Expressway links the northwest to the northeast. This is what makes the recent delivery of 250 kilometers of that road within the last few weeks very noteworthy across states in those zones.
They inherited more than 300 road projects where contractors have demobilized. In coming into power, they mobilized all the contractors back, and the projects continued without stop. And today, we are commissioning one of such projects with less than the money they make. President Muhammad Buhari is doing better than they did.
This occasion affords another opportunity to acknowledge the impact of the Sukuk funding in the completion of Azare Potiskum, Shuwarin Potiskum, and Sokoto Tambol Kontagora roads. Indeed, the Sukuk is currently contributing to progress of work on 44 roads across Nigeria, and as we complete them, events like this will unfold.
The Minister of Works and Housing sat down with us in Abuja and explained further.
In order to improve the condition of the ordinary person. That is the basis of our progressive ideal. Better infrastructure creates opportunities. We're building roads, we're building bridges, we are maintaining existing ones. We have over 800 different projects under management. We are now in what I call a season of completion. So we're closing out. And completing and handing over those assets. We have over 13,000 kilometers of road network under rehab, construction and repair. It must make some people very uncomfortable. And you know, we're doing this when oil prices tanked. And it was an opportunity lost for them, really, because when they had the resources, we were seeing the money in aircraft being forgotten and all sorts of places. Yeah, so, they must marvel that how are these people getting. And I asked the question that let us do the research. Between 1999 and 2015, how many 100-kilometer roads were constructed before the Buhari administration?
Though cognizant of a wider absence of analytical reportage of infrastructure-related matters, often in favor of politically sensational stories, the minister says his focus remains solitary.
You know, Ajuri, for us, this is not a media show. It's not a media show. It is an unstinting commitment to improve the quality of lives of Nigerians. And we think infrastructure is one thing that we do. And you see those who are directly impacted by projects, who drive through there, who are employed there. You heard what some of them said. And you heard how they said journey time that used to take them 4 to 6 hours is now 1.5 hours. Those people know that they are being impacted. And really and truly, I really don't need any media show to we've done that, that's completed, we are going to the next project. And any Nigerian who traverses that route, because of the journey across the country, will see what we have done, the investments we have made, with some of the resources that have been borrowed, apart from some of the resources that have been raised locally.
Conceived in 1978 but unbuilt for decades, the 199 billion naira Boni Bodo Road, set for 2023 completion in River State, is being newly constructed in collaboration with NLNG under President Muhammadu Buhari's Presidential Executive Order 007, which has opened up a floodgate for new and upfront private sector investment in the development of federal road infrastructure in exchange for calibrated tax relief. At 39 kilometers, the Boni Bodo Road comes complete with 10 mini-bridges and 3 major bridges, including one crossing over the Opobo Channel. The project will ultimately facilitate the road transportation of gas and other allied products from Boni Island to Nigeria's mainland for the first time in history.
I'm extremely pleased to present this check for 621 billion naira to Federal Inland Revenue Service.
Under the same initiative, the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited has agreed to spend 621 billion naira to reconstruct and newly construct up to 1,800 kilometers of federal roadways across all geopolitical zones for energy security and other economic value additive considerations.
If you go to Niger State and you tour Niger, you will see that some of the largest petroleum storage facilities that Nigeria has are in Niger State. Now, energy security is one of our ministerial mandates. I think it's ministerial mandate number 3. And every year, articulated trucks, tankers, and all of them get stopped in and around Niger, and they can't move. You will hear the truckers threatening to go outside. So we've been at it for a bit. And I kept challenging NNPC, saying, look, we have to find a solution. It's not, we can't do this every year. This is your business. This is eminent common sense. If that place shuts down, you lose money. Not only that, you compromise the country's energy security. And I think that over time, NNPC was persuaded by the logic. And we then also looked at critical road networks across the country, apart from Niger State, to enable trucks moving out in Niger State, but also to create an interstate link for easy distribution of petroleum products across the country.
Also unbuilt for over 40 years, the Honorable Minister attributes the Buhari administration's construction of the soon-to-be completed 336 billion naira 6-lane second Niger bridge across Delta and Anambra states to President Muhammadu Buhari's establishment of the Presidential Infrastructure Development Fund, PIDF, crucially linking Nigeria's southeast seamlessly to other vital economic zones across the nation.
The second Niger bridge we hope to finish in 2022, and we are of course on good progress. So it's just time now, construction time, one day at a time. So hopefully very soon we will get Mr. President to sign an executive order to give effect to mandatory maintenance of public infrastructure at federal level, and the hope that states will latch on and the private sector will also latch on.
On the next edition of the program, we traverse the Nigerian Southwest to gain exclusive access into project sites with a full, detailed analysis of what our people can expect in the region, from works completed to works yet to be completed. The old saying applies here: time flies when you do what you love most. I have enjoyed this so much, and I look forward to hosting you once again next week at this same time on this network. Until next time, may God Almighty go with you, and as eagles, may we all soar and lift our nation high as we do.